Hey, this is Sean with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com and be on the lookout for our ad in Net News about the Go Tennis Fall Festival on November 9th at James Creek Tennis Center. It's going to be awesome. Today is 10 minutes of tennis with world-renowned tennis coach Justin Yeo, Australian in Puerto Rico. These are our 10 tips in 10 minutes. And Justin, jumping right in, we have our 5 elements of tennis to try to drag out 10 tips, and I would say only 10 tips because there are probably about a million here. So we've got physical, mental, tactical, technical, and emotional. So we're going to try to grab a couple from each, somewhere around there, but let's start with physical. Okay, go.
Perfect. So juniors, just be sure to try to do anything you can to develop your athletic base. All right. So that's baseball, volleyball, basketball, soccer, football, gymnastics, cheerleading, anything that can create your athletic base and give you a diversity of muscle groups with athletic base. Really critical because it helps with depth perception. It helps with just the movement patterns of everything that does with tennis, soccer as well. All of these things are really critical to develop your athletic base. As an adult, really one of the best things you can do is learn to make sure you still have an athletic base. All right. So there's sort of 2 tips between junior and adult. But the other thing with the juniors these days, the earlier they learn to maintain their body health, meaning nutrition, hydration, recovery, stretching, all of these things are so independent and so important for their career as they get into their 20s, because that is the number one component that shuts down a career and allows up and down rankings and consistently of playing a full year of tournaments. So the sooner they learn, the physical is the absolute component, the better.
There you go. Mental is next. What are some mental things to think about? Again, there could be a million. We'll try to narrow it down.
Real quick for juniors, learn to be independent as soon as possible. Everything you can. Do anything. Chores, cleaning toilets, doing whatever it is that makes you feel independent. Washing a car, mowing a lawn, anything that these days, cleaning the dishwasher, cleaning it out and putting it back in.
Carry your own tennis bag. How's that one?
Carry your own tennis bag. Manage your own tennis bag. Manage your food for the day. Manage anything and everything possible. Schooling, how to make sure you're out the door and in the door and getting everything around. Time schedule, time management, everything possible. Your tournament schedule. You manage it, right? So anything independent with anything at whatever age, the sooner you do that, the stronger mentally you're going to be on the tennis court, and you'll see it reflect. It will be there. It won't be on a tennis court, but everything you do mentally will reflect on the tennis court independently. So do the stuff. Don't let your parents do it. You do it and watch what happens.
Yeah. And for adults, what do you think mentally?
Adults is a real quick one. Improve your routine before you get to a court, before you train, before you play, before you do everything. Make sure you have a decent mental routine. Once you find that, don't let it come out. Like once you find the winning routine, stay in that routine, right? So nobody affects that. So if it's an hour and a half before the game, no phone, and you won and you felt good and you felt everything good, then you stick to that pattern. Because if it goes down to a half an hour before the game and your match changes, you're like, well, there you go. I didn't give myself an hour and a half to get in the zone before I play.
We need to talk to Marcus Hertig about this because it's what you eat, it's how you prepare, it's how you drive to your match. What are you doing there? Are you downloading the tennis tips that we have on the Atlanta Tennis Podcast to get yourself ready on Thursday morning before you drive, right? So those kinds of things mentally get you in that space. That's good. Now we move to technical. So technically, what are we talking about?
Well, so again, everyone's talking about technique, because it makes you game efficient. You're in a better position. You can strike the ball more efficient. There's all these things about technique. But after 37 years of learning this game, teaching every level from a 2.5 to a 5.5 to pro level to junior development, I would say, number one thing for anyone that's playing this game, learn to feel the ball with your hands. They definitely need to feel the ball with their hands to be able to hit defense, offense, change it up, variation, coming forward, staying back, out of the loop, flick it back. All of these things are all to do with your hands. And the second one is learn what elasticity means. I hear so many people like, I'm not loose or I'm supposed to be loose. What's supposed to be loose? Where's the tension supposed to be? The majority of the pros, the strength and the activation engagement is in the shoulder, not in the arm. And so that can help people who are trying to learn elasticity because they sometimes get everything loose and now they can't actually generate the kinetic chain, right? So important just to really understand what is elasticity, what is a soft grip tension, how do I make a soft grip tension? So elasticity and learning hands, right? Because I see so many people robotic with technique that they don't have the variation. They don't have all the stuff in technique. So
hands being important, that we talk about learning to spin, the control of spin is extremely important in getting better. But I want to also define elasticity a little bit, be able to say it isn't just the stretchiness of your body, it's the ability to recover from being stretched is the elasticity. I can be elastic and come back to my original shape, and that keeps me from getting injured and keeps me on the court more often, correct?
100%. But that's still a little bit to do with flexibility versus elasticity, because elasticity is really during motion, during the stroke of the ball. Because when you're actually moving, you're not necessarily elastic because every body joint, every muscle is moving. But when you're striking through the ball is where a lot of people are too stiff and their hands can't actually help them, even though they might be pretty good with their hands. If they don't have elasticity, they haven't got feel.
So think more looseness.
Correct. Yep.
Got it. Next, tactical. Are we thinking, how smart am I? Are we thinking my tennis IQ here?
Yeah. Well, I continue to say you Americans should be the best at tennis more than anybody in the world, because everything on TV, every sport, everything you do is tactical. If you watch the biggest sports, basketball, football, soccer, baseball, all of the sports that you guys watch, it's all tactical. Every single thing, right? The baseball, they do this, right? Football, they're reading what call.
There's a plan, there's a play.
Basketball, they stop, bring everybody in, and they're going to change it up, and you see this massive change from 12 points. Still tactical. So start thinking about when you're on the court, training, practice, everything should be very specific around tactical, not just hitting balls, not just getting to one particular part of the court. If you're going to go cross court's good. So hit the angle, hit the depth, hit the loop, hit the side, like change the cross court, give yourself plenty, and then make sure that once you see 1, 2, 3, or 4, you should be hitting straight down the line, like so you get used to changing direction. But tactical, so important, so important. Every single training session, every coach, if you're listening right now, you should be developing in your lesson plan a tactical opponent, a portion in your actual lesson plans, because that is how it's going to improve your hands, your feel, and your tactics.
And your tactics are different from mine because of different skill sets, just like the teams.
Right. So again, that's why my last tip on the tactical thing is game style, right? Your tactics in your training sessions and in your game plans for the match should be designed around your game style, who you are. Player A, player B, stick to that. Try not to be something else. I mean, that's where players come unwound. You know, they try to play C, and they're just not that player.
Yeah, makes sense. Emotional. Do we have another 10 minutes for this one?
Well,
we've only got 2.
Yeah, that one we could go on forever.
Yeah.
But it is something that's very easy to understand, is that you have your own emotion. You have your own mental thoughts. You are the person on the inside. So learn who that person is. Journalize. Biggest tip I can give a junior, a female, a male, anybody, even if you're a tour player that's trying to make the top 100, the more you're writing down and understanding who you are emotionally, the more you'll start to control your thoughts, your perspective on the thought. Then when you control all that, you think more tactically. You think more externally versus internally. So learn who you are and try to figure out your best systems emotionally, because prime example, Federer was a racket breaker. He was crazy when he first came out on the tour. And what became from that was he learned himself and never pushed himself to that boundary. So that's why a lot of people used to say, man, what's wrong with Federer? He won't come out of his skin, because he learned not to push the boundary to get to that adrenaline, not to get to that point. So he would always stay the whisperer, always stay there. And his whole match was like, well, I win or lose, but this is where I'm going to be. Because if not, there is a good chance I'll be winning and losing, because I don't know how to control my emotions. So he found a way to be the whisperer. It wasn't born in him. He found his way to do it. So that would be my key tip to emotions, is learn who you are. And that's pretty much the biggest tip I can give anyone.
Know thyself. I remember a movie, something about that. Justin Yo, 10 tips in 10 minutes. I think we made it today. Maybe we didn't.
Yes.
It's all right. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Keep hitting.